Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages,
prepare to be astonished.
Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast today. Welcome to the Young Prophets broadcast. I'm your host, Justin Allen, here hosting live from the studios in sunny central Pennsylvania for Global Awakening. Behind the scenes here, I have John Rolfe producing the show.
What's up? Man, I'm excited about today, Justin. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited to have a friend of mine on the broadcast. I met this cat a little while ago back in Redding, California at Bethel, the Healing and Impartation Conference, and we kind of shared one of those divine connection moments where it was just like, hey, this guy feels like a friend that I haven't met yet. And since then, we've stayed in communication long distance. He's a mover and a shaker. He's out there doing all sorts of stuff on the music scene. His name is Topher Jones. You may know him as King Arthur, but I'm excited to have him on the broadcast today. So welcome, Topher. That's his latest release, Places. Topher, it's good to have you on the broadcast, man.
Thank you guys for having me. This is awesome.
Super stoked. This is fun. When we decided that we were going to do this show, I was thinking of some of the people that I wanted to have on, and you were like in my top 5. I was like, man, I really want to pick his brain. I want to get to know what's rolling around in his brain and your process and how you got to where you are. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're doing now, and then we'll just get into conversation and see what pops up.
Yeah, so my name is Topher Jones, and I write music and tour as King Arthur. And I write more kind of house music / pop music type of stuff. Recently signed a record deal with Republic Records, which is regarded as the biggest label in the world.
That's amazing.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was never planning on stuff like that happening, but, it's amazing and it's exciting. And my wife and I currently live in Amsterdam.
Okay.
She works for Nike at their Nike headquarters, European headquarters here in the finance department. And so we are enjoying our little life in Amsterdam at the moment. And do a lot of traveling with the music and everything. And we're just trying to enjoy this season of life. It's actually sunny here in Amsterdam today. So we're like, okay, this is worth being here right now. So
that's awesome.
So I grew up in Indiana.
Okay.
And then after college, I majored in philosophy at college, and then moved to Chicago, and that's when music really started taking off. And actually worked for Young Life for a little bit too, right after college. So that was an amazing time of life. Learned a lot, and it's funny how a lot of what I learned then applies to my life now.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome, man. No, that's super cool. So your wife works at Nike as well. I'm like a sneakerhead too. So like when you said Nike, I was like, my eyes were like, oh my gosh.
Your Instagram stories, and I was like, I got to talk to my wife about see if we can hook you up with a discount on one of those pairs or something.
Yes, Lord, I receive it. I will reach out into the atmosphere and grab that.
For right there. You can get a discount on your Nike kicks.
And our next guest will be your wife. No, I'm just kidding.
We're looking for sponsors.
I'll talk to you about
Oh, man. That's hilarious.
Hey, Nike, you guys getting into the prophetic? We know some people.
That's a side note, but I just had like a prophetic encounter from the Lord about Nike and victory and stuff like that. But I'll share that at another time with you privately. Yeah. So it's really interesting. Those little things, those prophetic coincidences that seem to weave themselves through your life. That's awesome. So you're an Indiana guy. My dad's from Indiana. He's a Hoosier as well. Basketball is in his blood. Say what?
Where in Indiana is he from?
Bremen, Indiana, but nobody knows where Bremen is.
I was going to say.
It's a little bitty town on your way to South Bend, but that's still like 45 minutes away, so it's not super close. Okay.
But
awesome.
Even though I grew up in Indiana, I am not an IU fan at all.
Okay, just to clarify, set the record straight.
Because IU basketball might be one of my least favorite things.
Okay.
But I am a diehard Butler fan.
Okay.
Butler basketball. So that's my team from Indiana.
Okay, right on, man. Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. How long have you been married, man?
We got married in January of last year down in Sydney because my wife is from Australia.
Okay, very cool. So Australia's fantastic. So you're newly married, man. I'm coming up on 10 years in September. I'll be married, which is crazy. 3 babies, and it's wild.
Your kids, I love your Instagram stories with your kids. Like I always laugh.
Yeah.
You definitely make parenting look very fun.
No, it's fun because now the kids are like aware enough that they're like, Dad, let's do an Insta story, or I want them to see this, or and then when we do the polls, they want to know like who liked what, and if people like their story. And that's the generation of children that we're raising up. It's like, no, we got to do a retake. We can't. This is not acceptable. This is not up to par, Dad. So no, that's awesome, man. So like, what was the thing for you? I guess like kind of like moving into like music and how you got to be where you are now. Like, what was it about music that you gravitated towards, and how did you get into the expression that you're in now? Because there's a lot of ways to get connected in music, and people play in bands, or some people start in church, or some people start in radio. Like, what was the thing that caused you to gravitate towards the expression of music that you have now?
So it all started, my first love affair with music was in middle school, and I really loved hip hop at the time. So this would be like 90s hip hop, which is very different than hip hop today for all you young kids.
It's the real hip hop. That's where it's at.
It was so much better back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I loved it, and I just loved the storytelling. I loved the beats. I loved and then there would always be these DJs in the background cutting up records and sounds, and I was like, yo, that sounds awesome. I want to learn how to do that. And so my birthday is a few days after Christmas, and I was able to convince my parents, like, can I get a combined gift this year where I get a pair of turntables?
Yeah.
And they were up for it. They said, yeah, and they did that. And so I started out like doing hip hop stuff and cutting up records and doing the whole like turntablism thing. And then it's before my sophomore year of high school, I was visiting a friend in Arizona, and we were watching this video, and it had this song in the background, and it was one of the, like, looking back on it, I was like, oh my gosh, like that was my first like encounter where I was like, oh my gosh, my life is so different after this. And and it was this song by Armin van Buuren. It's called Communication.
Okay.
And I just never heard any music like it before. It was just so epic and uplifting, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is my thing.
Yeah.
And from then on out, I just started buying dance music records. And then after DJing for a while, I was like, I need to start producing music. And and did a bootleg remix of Snow Patrol Chasing Cars back in 2006. Okay. And it became like this huge thing in the dance world. And that was when I was like, oh, maybe I could really do this.
Yeah.
And so I didn't come from like a band background, or I was like this super amazing musician or piano player. I came from just like having all sorts of crazy ideas and being able to make them happen with, technology and being able to piece. I know music theory, but it was just about piecing everything together. And so from then on, I was like, let's give this a shot. And, I toured as Topher Jones for a long time and signed a record deal with a big label in the US. And then as that was going on, I was like, I don't know. I feel like, I went to Bethel, and they gave me all sorts of prophetic words, and it kind of wrecked my life in a great way. In a great way. The beginning of the King Arthur project was like, from that day, I was like, I need to start this new thing. And,
that's
here we
awesome,
are today.
Man.
And
that's super
crazy.
Cool. Yeah, no, like I'm intrigued by everybody's process. You'll find that people that generally are successful in any sphere, they have some type of like divine epiphany. Even if they don't know the Lord, there's like this moment where like manifest destiny meets them, and kind of they gravitate towards what they're supposed to be. And some people in the religious realm get a little uncomfortable when I say stuff like that, but eventually it will lead them to the Lord. I'm convinced that the kindness of God draws people to repentance, and you don't earn your destiny. It's just part of who you are. So that's crazy to see your progression, and then you reach this greater level of expression when you start to realize that Christ in me is the hope of glory. So when I recognize like that when I'm all about His kingdom, He makes the desires of my heart come to pass. I'm just talking in loose spiritual principles, but essentially that's so cool. This explain the King Arthur thing for people who don't know, because one of the things that we want to do is like put different options in front of people that, hey, the only way to manifest the kingdom is not only through church or on a Sunday service or a Wednesday service or a prayer meeting. Like, how can we influence, like festivals and dance music and that? And what's your heart behind the King Arthur thing? Share that with us real quick.
Yeah, so I actually have like a huge passion for stuff that has nothing to do with the church.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound mean when I say this, but I feel like a lot of the stuff the church has done has been really poor quality compared to
yes.
the rest of culture. And so there's been zero ability to impact culture.
Agreed.
And so I am very, very passionate about trying to encourage people that are musicians. Like, I mean, this might piss people off. I'm like, we don't need more worship leaders. We need more leaders who carry a heart of worship into
that is
the world.
so good. Oh my gosh.
And like, because like, you know, I don't know. Like, we don't need more people playing on Sunday mornings. We need people playing Monday through Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Yes.
And it's like, so my heart has never been to do worship music or anything like that and do anything involved with the church. But my heart has always been for people that would never go to church and would never walk into the four walls of one of those buildings. And so my heart is to carry the kingdom of heaven to these people, take it to them in their places where they're voluntarily going and feel comfortable and have encounters and experiences in those places, because we live in a society today where people do not want to walk into church if they have nothing to do with it. And so it's like, well, either this is going to become obsolete, or we take it to them and show them how incredible this is. And so the whole thing with King Arthur, you know, was, my middle name's Arthur. And so I was swimming one day in the pool and I was just praying as I was doing laps. I was like, God, how can I come up with a cool name for this project and use the name Arthur? And he was like, King Arthur. And I was like, all right, cool.
Come on.
And looking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like he saw this so much bigger than I did in that moment. I was like, oh, that's cool. And now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I get to use terminology like, we're going to build the kingdom. We're going to bring the kingdom. We're going to do this stuff. And so it is about building the kingdom of King Arthur, but it's really about people experiencing the kingdom of heaven.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, you know, and my hope is that these people, as they're in nightclubs and at festivals and all these places where they can, and riding, the bus or the train, listening to my music, is that wherever they're at, they can experience a glimpse of what heaven sounds like and what heaven feels like. And, and so I think my encouragement to other people is, we need people. There has to be a standard of excellence that is great. Like like pulling the whole thing. Well, God told me to do this. Like, okay, but that doesn't mean the world's going to care about it if it's not good.
That's right.
And so, there has to be, we as Christians, I believe we should be leading in all spheres of influence, because if we can partner with the mind of Christ and the ultimate creator of everything, we should be at the forefront of everything creative. We should have the most innovative ideas, sounds, movies, whatever it is.
Yes.
And so my hope is like to the world, like let them experience a glimpse of how amazing heaven is, and to Christians, like, we can do this and we should be at the forefront.
Come on.
And trying to lead that as well.
Man, that's super cool. I love that. And I think it's kind of like an unspoken assumption that, like, historically anything tagged Christian or religious media has been just like cringeworthy. And I think our generation is starting to recognize, it's like, hey, the lines between sacred and secular, for lack of better words, that terminology may not agree with people's sensibilities, but it's like the middle lines of separation are being eliminated, and we're starting to recognize the church is not here or there. It's the kingdom inside of you being released. And if you actually have a legitimate encounter with God, and you're aware of that idea of Christ and you as a hope of glory, then you're not afraid of the darkness out there, because the light inside of you is greater. I love seeing that, and it's a crescendo movement. It's like this wave that's building and building, where this opposition, there used to be radical opposition, like if anybody tried to do anything in Hollywood, if anybody tried to do anything in media or something that had just not been done before, it would be met by, that's demonic, that's the devil stuff. But he's not an originator. He copies stuff and he has cheap imitations, and God is just nothing but creativity. I love all the different angles, particularly since I've come into a knowledge of the kingdom and the prophetic, and God's expression is so creative and beautiful. And I love that. because you work with sounds and engineering music and creating stuff like that, not necessarily traditional music, how does your process as far as like, do you hear stuff? Do you think of stuff? How do you find your inspiration? Do you ever get it like through revelation? Like, do you ever have stuff through dreams and God speaks to you? Because you were talking about, the inspiration for the King Arthur thing came while you were swimming laps in a pool, doing something normal, but it was part of who you are. What about in the creative process of your music? I know there's a lot of pieces at play there. What's your process there?
I mean, there's never like one specific way of like, this is how I make my music. I mean, sometimes it starts with a really cool percussion loop and you're like, oh, this has a nice groove to it, and then you can build from there. Sometimes it's a really cool melody. Sometimes you write a really cool vocal hook. And so there's never like one single thing, but one of the things that with all this new music that brought about the deal with Republic was it came from a season where, like, last year was supposed to be this incredible breakthrough year of all these huge things. And, I was playing the main stage, the biggest festival in the world for dance music. And like all this great stuff was happening and everything kind of fell flat on its face and nothing really panned out like we thought it would. And so in that time, I was just, my wife and I, every Friday, over the summer, we'd fast. We would just pray, we just want more of you. And like, just whatever it is that we're going after, like we want to do it with you. Not that we weren't doing this before, but we just wanted a deeper relationship of this. And so what ended up happening during that time was I felt really inspired to listen to like older, like Daft Punk and Fatboy Slim and Moby and stuff like this, and was not really inspired by modern day dance music. And so then the music naturally I was creating started to sound differently. And funny enough, that's the music that got me signed to Republic.
Wow.
And so that's music that's starting to come out. And so, I think one of the things I really spend a lot of time doing is like just trying to connect my heart and my mind with God in a very creative way. Like, look, you've got ideas and sounds and melodies and songs in heaven that the world needs to hear. Like, let me in on that. And let me be someone who brings that to heaven, or brings that part of heaven to earth. And also like in a way that sounds like fresh and innovative and exciting, that like inspires people, because the last thing I want to do is try and copy other people of like, oh, this is popular right now, I want to do the exact same thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with being inspired by that. And you definitely need to do stuff that is relevant. But it's been interesting to see how just going after that with God, how that changed sonically the output. And so I'm always like, okay, well, this is just like a natural outgoing overflow of that connection, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. Like for me, like with the prophetic, because I minister within ministry circles, so like I'm preaching in churches and stuff like that. I get the element, and I value and I champion what you guys are doing. But and I actually have that in my heart. But right now, so much of what I'm doing is within the four walls and within the religious. So like I talk about things that I'm actually part of trying to change. So I'm not trying to just be a voice like that's saying, oh, this is wrong, let's try to implement some change if we have some authority in it. But I found that like the revelatory process, the creative process, is rooted and grounded in rest and just God rested after creation. And then, there's something about that Sabbath and keeping it holy. I find it interesting that you were fasting with your wife and that's kind of where you started to navigate the direction that got you the inspiration that led you to actually your contract. It wasn't like I'm really trying to figure this out. It's just like, hey, this isn't working. Like, how many of us have just come to that point where it's like, this isn't working, God, we'll just let you figure it out, and that's actually the beginning of all reason. The end of your rope is the beginning of all reason. Like, God's got it figured out. Man, this is fun. I'm really loving kind of where we're going here. I want to kind of jump off of script a little bit and talk about some different stuff. Okay, so you're at festivals, you're at this, that, and the other, which is a wild environment. I mean, like if you've ever been to a major festival, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's definitely outside the box. Do you have any like God stories from those moments, or any green room moments where you've met people and you were able to, for those who are like, yeah, I get it, and it's like, yeah, it's fun, but like, at what point are you actually like speaking into people's lives and stuff? Like, do you have like any stories, or I know some stuff you can't share because of some of the circles you're in, but do you have any of those as like God moments in the midst of an unorthodox setting?
Yeah, I mean, so one of my favorite ones was in Guangzhou, China.
Okay.
I was there for a festival, and I had just flown from Australia because I was down there with my wife, and flew up and just exhausted, and there were all these delays. So I got there, like I had 10 minutes to run to my hotel room, shower and change, and run to the festival and go on and play. And I don't remember if it was before or after my set, but like there was this guy who was one of the earlier, he was a local guy, and he played like early in the night, and he was a big fan of my music. And so he just came up and was like, hey man, I'm a huge fan of your music. Like, I'm like, yo, awesome, man. Like, you know, that's so cool. I appreciate it. I love to hear stories of people, you know, falling in love with my music, especially when it's in random cities around the world, and like in China, and you're like, oh, this is cool. Music travels everywhere. You forget that sometimes. But, you know, everyone else was, you know, drinking and taking shots and all that. And I don't drink, and it's not for religious reasons. Like, I just think it all tastes like crap. So I have no interest in it. And I do think like it's a huge blessing with what I do professionally that I don't even like bother with that stuff. But he noticed, he's like, oh, you don't drink. Like, what's up with that? I was like, dude, I really just don't like it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, okay. And so we just started chatting, and he started asking me questions about life and who I am. And he's like, bro, there's just something really different about you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh, like, tell me more about this. Cause I'm like interested to see what people are kind of perceiving. And he's like, there's just like this calm and like steadiness about you, and like this peace that like, you seem like so comfortable, like who you are in like environments like this. And he's like, can you tell me more about this? And I was like, all right. I was like, it's Jesus. Mm-hmm. And he's like, really? He's like, that's interesting. He's like, I have so many questions for you. And so we get into this like hour and a half long conversation about, you know, about what that looks like for me as an artist, and to travel the world and do what I do in clubs and festivals. And he's Baha'i. And so I don't know if many people in North America know about this, but Baha'i people believe that each religion was for a certain time in history, and then like a new revelation comes, and that's a new religion. So like Judaism was one, and then evolved into Christianity, and that evolved into Islam, and then Hindu was like the right one for the time, and whatever. So they kind of believe all of them are true. Okay. And I was like, so he was talking about that, and I was like, so here's a question for you, because as a philosophy major, I love hearing people's logical arguments of how they structure their foundational thought process of life. And I was like, explain this to me then. And none of this is confrontational. This is all like super great, normal conversation. I was like, explain to me that I'm like, so you believe Jesus was who he says he was? He's like, absolutely. And I was like, okay, explain to me then how you can believe that when Jesus says, like, I am the only way to the Father. Yeah. How that was relevant only for a certain time, and then it's on to something else, but you still believe that's true. Yeah. I was like, that contradicts itself. And so he's like, oh, I've never really thought about it like this. And so we got into this like really great conversation. Yeah. And at the end of it, he's like, wow, like I'm really going to just spend some time thinking about this and praying about it. And I was like, dude, just let me just pray for you real quick before we go. Yeah. Because I go. And it wasn't I didn't get any like words of knowledge, like anything crazy, but I was like, dude, Lord, just bless this guy and his music and his career, and like give him favor and opportunities, and just like give him inspiration from heaven that will just launch his career and just make him feel so excited about what he's doing and all that stuff. And it was like 30 seconds just encouraging, praying for him. And we finished, and he was crying. Oh man. And he's like, and I was like, whoa. I was like, you okay, man? He's like, no one's ever prayed for me like that before. Oh my gosh. And I was like, awesome. I was like, that's Jesus for you right there. And he's like, whoa. And then, you know, and like I gave him my phone number. I was like, you know, hit me up, you know, whenever you need to or whatever. And so he messages me every once in a while. But like that was just a moment where I was like, wow. You know, sometimes when you're around super prophetic people and all this stuff and in the supernatural, you're like, oh man, like you get words of knowledge and blah, 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 and people just get wrecked. But then it was also this moment of like, man, just loving people where they're at and just like encouraging them with like the love of Jesus. Like it's just as powerful sometimes. It was genuine discipleship. Cool. Yeah. it was just so cool to see like how just a little conversation and a 30-second prayer like impacted this dude's life. And now he's left with forever being like, that was a moment. That like, he had to think about and wrestle with, you know? Yeah, and you can't talk yourself out of an encounter.
Speaking of moments and encounters.
Uh-oh. I like it.
Okay. get the music turned down here a little bit. Get our music bed going here for the game.
All right.
All right, Topher. We're going to play a little game called Would You Rather. So I've got a list of questions here. I don't know if we'll make it through all of them. This is going to be the most non-spiritual moment of the show. That was pretty spiritual and deep what we were talking about there.
Humor is spiritual. Humor is spiritual.
Okay, I'll go with that. We'll see. All right. Question number 1. Would you rather be transported permanently 500 years into the future or 500 years into the past?
Ooh. That's a good
Can
one.
I ask a question before I answer this?
Well, okay, I'll allow it.
Do I have the knowledge and expertise of today?
Ooh.
Am I stuck with that, or like will I be thrown into like the same type of knowledge I had 500 years ago or 500 in the future?
You have
Because
future.
if I have the knowledge I have today, I'm going 500 years in the back.
Okay,
I'm
that's your
making
answer.
sure.
Yes, true. All right, question number 2.
Choice.
Yeah.
Choice.
All right, would you rather lose all of your memories from birth until this point in your life, or would you rather lose your ability to make new long-term memories?
Ooh.
I would lose everything up until this point.
Really?
Man,
Yeah,
interesting.
because I mean, I'm going to get spiritual on here because
Yeah.
I feel like, and I'm being 100% serious when I say that. I feel like this is like, I believe I'm stepping into something where I'm like, this is exactly what I was made for.
That's good.
Cool.
And so I think from here on out, it's about to get crazy exciting.
That's awesome.
All right.
I'm not spiritual at all.
Yeah,
I
you're
would stick with the
over
stuff I know.
spiritualizing my game. Stop it. Okay. Next question. Would you rather have out of control body hair or out of control body odor?
Hair, because you can trim it.
Oh.
Dude, and I get to travel some places where I'm like, thank Jesus for the odor.
I'm glad you said that. Oh my gosh. The struggles of international travel.
All right. Next question here.
Ew.
All right. Would you rather have no eyebrows or only one eyebrow?
I would do one because I feel like from an artist perspective, I could try and make it be cool.
The unibrow. King Unibrow. Okay.
Anthony Davis, the Pelican, like he's a great basketball. He's got unibrow, like that's still grand.
All right, this is we're gonna see how big of a psychopath you are with this next one. All right, would you rather accidentally be responsible for the death of a child or accidentally be responsible for the death of 3 adults? So what are you gonna kill, one
my
kid
gosh.
or 3 adults?
Completely
Dude,
hypothetical.
what is this? I would. Wow.
That's hard. You're ruthless, John. That's savage. Oh my gosh.
I don't know about your name. I'm gonna say we're just gonna go strictly off numbers here. I'm gonna say 1, in hopes that somehow, some way, I can just raise at least one person from the
There
dead.
you go.
Yeah,
That's a redemptive answer.
I'll agree with that.
Well
That
done.
would have been my
Well
answer.
done.
All right, let me see.
I don't know if I got 3 in me. Maybe I got 1 though. Maybe I got 1.
All right, this will be an easier one for you. Would you rather live without the internet or live without air conditioning and heating?
Dude, well, I live in Europe, so I live without air conditioning and heating already.
See, that was too easy. That was a gimme.
Like I keep going like this because I'm like, it's so hot in my apartment to do construction outside. So I have
man.
the windows closed for this interview. So I would definitely go. I have to have the internet.
Okay. All right. We'll do 2 more here. All right. This is totally hypothetical here. Don't incriminate yourself. But if you were on the run from the police for a crime that you didn't commit, where would you go?
Well, I have a 10-year visa to China, so I'd go hole up in China, and they couldn't find me.
Yeah.
All right. And that was to throw him
Yeah.
off the trail, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do one more here, and then I'm going to turn you back to Justin. All right. This is the most spiritual question that you're ever going to hear on a Christian podcast. Would you rather have 1 nipple or 2 belly buttons?
Oh, this is the greatest question I've ever heard asked anywhere.
Oh my. Okay. Is the nipple in the center or just on one side?
Let's right in the center of your chest.
Keep in mind you
big
only have
nipple.
1 eyebrow at this point. So
Yeah, 1
you
eyebrow.
might want to keep them balanced by.
2 belly buttons evenly spaced.
King Arthur's been in some serious battles. He's missing some bodies. Like, what's going on here? I would go. Wow.
Oh God, help us.
I'll go. I mean, you can't have a six-pack if you got two belly buttons. So I'm going one nipple.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That has been
You are welcome, guys.
the game of the day there.
Brought to you by Dr.
great.
Mike Hutchings and all of his PTSD training and equipping. So if that traumatized you, you can go check out Dr. Mike Hutchings and his post-traumatic stress disorder stuff. It's legit. So there you go. Some of you are like, what in the world
just
am I
happened?
watching or listening to right now? This is ridiculous. It's okay, like, just for the record, not everybody's super spiritual all the time. So we're trying to change it up a little bit and let you know that you can be led of the Spirit in humor and all sorts of life. You don't have to be dull and boring, guys. So you're welcome for that. John, that was fantastic. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well
Yeah.
done. And Topher, thank you for being a good sport there. So
I love
segueing
stuff like this.
back into some more spiritual stuff. And one thing that made headlines, and I want to talk about it, and I'm not trying to like lump you in a camp with Justin Bieber, but obviously what happened at Coachella made global headlines and was actually a very big deal because people have no grid for that. We here at Global Awakening, we'll do ministries, different ministry outreaches in some like really unorthodox settings. So like, for instance, I go to Salem around Halloween time. We minister to witches and psychics and mediums in witchcraft festivals and psychics. It's not a new thing. We're not the only people to do it, but that's still new to a lot of people. John Paul Jackson would do it, and Burning Man, et cetera, et cetera. But I honestly have really been feeling in my spirit that festival is kind of one of those new places that God is wanting to reach out. And it's really an unreached people group because there's massive gatherings, you know, and I even say this, I hear a lot of people in the prophetic realm talking about stadium Christianity and stuff like that. But I would like introduce this idea. Why don't you recalibrate your idea of what a stadium looks like? I feel like if you look at current like EDM festivals, I have not seen gatherings on that scale in any other arena, to be really honest with you. It's gathering radical amounts of people from different walks of life, and it reminds me of kind of the Woodstock hippies type movement, the Jesus people, and that was one of the greatest things that we've seen in a long time. Also the LGBT festivals, like God is moving there, and there's a handful of people that are moving there, and that's something that's in my heart as well. But so Justin Bieber, who has gone through some rough stuff in his past, but it seems like he's coming around, getting his feet under him. He's got history with the Lord, and his mom very much loves Jesus, and it looks like he's developed his own relationship, and there's fruit of it now. He's leading worship at Coachella of all places. What do you think about that, and what do you see from your perspective, because yours is an accurate one, because that's your arena. What do you see God doing that's different or new or fresh in that arena?
I think I'll speak on the Bieber thing first and foremost, and then I'll get on the other stuff. But
Yeah.
The Bieber one, I think I feel like it was important that it was him,
Yeah.
because if a lot of other artists would have gone and done that, like, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact that he has as much influence and impact on culture as a whole as he does, like, it was important that it was him that was in that moment, because it made people think, you know, and this is something different. And I thought it was incredible, and like I get super pumped up by stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely believe like his faith is authentic and real, and
likewise.
You know, people give him a hard time for growing up in front of the whole world, and I feel like that's super unfair.
Yeah.
I'm glad the world wasn't watching everything I was doing as a 17-year-old kid.
Amen. Yeah, I don't need that in my life.
Yeah. and so, like, the fact that he's come out the way that he has and is just, like, super passionate about Jesus, like, it's impressive. But I think as far as festivals and all that stuff, I think when people go to festivals and they throw their hands up listening to music, and they take drugs to experience some things and the whole thing, I think that is people really searching for the kingdom of heaven, for experiencing heaven and experiencing that. And I think the reason why we're in that place where people go and take drugs and do all this stuff is because the church has not given them the authentic encounter that they're looking for. Yeah. Because the church has been so narrow-minded with this stuff that, like, they're like, fine, if we're not going to go get this with the real thing, like people are naturally born to worship and to seek and desire these experiences.
Yeah.
People ecstasy because they want to feel the ecstasy of heaven.
Yeah, ecstasy, like spiritual ecstasy and right connotation is a real thing, just for the record.
Yeah.
I know that we've excluded that as an option, but like there is the ecstasy of the Holy Spirit that people are not experiencing, so they're looking for another place. I'm done with my 2 cents. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, no, and so I think all this stuff that a lot of the church has been like, oh, that's so bad, and we want to, it's evil, and like, no, the only reason people are going and doing that is because they're seeking the real thing and they're not having the opportunity to find it.
Yeah.
So this is the best option they can find.
Yeah.
And so the religious spirit has to kick in and be like, oh, we need to condemn them. And it's like, no. Like, we need to be like, oh, actually, their desire in their heart to experience is true.
Okay.
But we as the church need to step in and like bring the real thing of what they're actually looking for. And so, I think festivals and all this stuff, like, people are so open to anything right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 10 years ago, everyone was like atheist and God is stupid and you're pathetic. Now everyone's like super spiritual and they want to experience anything.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
Like, what an opportunity for people that carry, Jesus to like, hey, this is the experience you've been looking for. And when they experience it, like, their lives are rocked.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
I'm getting like weird delay on my headphones. I don't know if you've heard that as well.
Okay. No, I'm hearing it okay. I'm gonna follow through with your thought real quick. We'll see if we can get that fixed on your end. But one of the things that I've noticed is I was always told by different people that, hey, if you go to these environments, they're going to be closed and they're going to be opposed to you and they're going to be militant against you. But like you said, people are open more than ever before. And if you believe that they won't receive what you're doing, you'll never even go out and try. But last time I checked, the gospel wasn't about whether or not they receive you, but it was about you being able to convey a message, to go to the ends of the earth and share the redemptive power of Christ. We've not been given a ministry of condemnation, but of reconciliation, no longer counting their trespasses against them, but imputing to them righteousness. So what they're doing and where they're at is not actually a reflection of who God says that they are. And man, I've found that people are really open, and they may have screwed up paradigms, but just for the record, if you're feeling this in your heart, like, I want to move into festivals, I want to go to occult festivals, I want to go to LGBT rallies, and just all of these, you pick a social justice issue, you could pick a special interest group, and you could go after them. People need to be loved everywhere, but there's certain stuff that makes your heart beat faster when you think about it. That's probably part of your destiny, but you're not trying to completely realign people's theology and their worldview. What you're trying to do is introduce Christ in such a fashion that he's real, tangible, and they can never lose that. They may have like a wide variety of, I've had experiences in Buddhism, I've had experiences in random New Age this, I've had experiences in old whatever, but man, this person, Jesus Christ, is alive, and this Holy Spirit won't leave me alone. We sometimes think, we get all twisted in our mind and think, oh, well, we love them more than God loves them, but that's not the case, man. Like, God is passionately pursuing people. It helps if we can line up with it. But people are open, and if your goal is to be right, then you don't need to be in those places. But if your goal is to be love and to like lay yourself down for people, and I love what you said about the guy that you met in China. You're like, oh, I didn't give him a prophetic word, or it wasn't anything major. You spent an hour and a half talking with the guy, man. Do you know how many times I meet a random stranger that I have an hour and a half conversation with? Even in a ministry context where I minister full-time all over the place, my schedule does not lend itself to speaking to somebody for an hour and a half. That's a God moment. And like we have this thing where we go and we see manifestation of the Holy Spirit everywhere. So it's like people having radical impartation experiences, the fire, the shaking on the ground, the laughter, all the stuff that makes people uncomfortable. But if you do a study of like number one language of the Holy Spirit, if you will, is tears. When God begins to move on people, they weep. So that guy has a tangible encounter with a real person. Now, we've heard it for years. You may be the only Jesus that some ever see, but if you're not in the places where they need to see Jesus, Jesus said, healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. So there's got to be an element about going to the lost and finding them where they're at. Man, I love that. That's super cool. And I think it's what you said about Bieber, it was important that it was him, and also kind of knowing your role and where you fit, to quote the Rock, right? Know your role, jabroni, or whatever he would say. But you know your role. If you're honest in your evaluation of who you are and what you're called to be, it goes two ways. And one of the things I really want to hammer this point home, and you may get tired of me saying it, but if you're watching this broadcast, it's like, listen, like 2% maybe of people are called to full-time ministry within a church setting. So when people would historically have encounters with God, they're like, I need to quit my job. I need to leave my place of influence and go preach. And like everything falls apart because that was never God's heart for you. And wherever your heart kind of draws you into, like, serve unto the Lord and watch God create a place. Because, we need people out and about. There's words about this billion soul harvest, man. And it's not going to come through the church right now. We don't have that kind of influence. It's going to come through those mountains of influence. And so, yeah, man, I agree with that. I think that's awesome. In the midst of, you travel a lot. How many days a month do you travel on average?
Up to this point of the year, I've been on the road at least 2 weeks a month.
2 weeks a month.
4 weeks a month.
Yeah, so you're really close to me. So like 14, 15 days a month is about, average for me being gone. I have 3 kids and a wife. You've got a wife. And then two, what you're doing is like, you're giving out quite a lot. So like when you're in those environments, if you work in anything that has to do with people, particularly in large scales of people, we have meetings, it can be draining in a different way. It's a joy to do what we get to do. And I don't want to be in negative at all, but it can be taxing spiritually, emotionally, and physically in a way that, like, I worked construction most of my life with my father before this. And I know what it is to labor physically. Some would argue with that. My dad and brother would argue and say he doesn't know what it is to labor physically. But I know what it is to work with my hands, and now that I'm doing this, it's a completely different paradigm. So I have to steward my mental well-being, my spiritual life is different, and my physical health because of diet and travel and stuff like that. How do you balance all of that stuff? You've been doing this for a little bit, but people always say, I want to do this, or maybe somebody's looking and say, I want to go and travel the world and mix music in front of crowds and stuff like this. What is it really like? Like, there are amazing things, there are highs, but how do you balance it, and what are the challenges that come with that, being a real person? Because you're still a human being and you still have, stuff going on. Tell me about that.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm just like, I'll do some very practical things, and I'll get into some deeper stuff, but like very practical stuff is like, I'm very particular about working out while I'm on the road. Yeah. And obviously I want to keep a tight schedule when I'm home, but just, I think there's something important about, just because I'm flying like internationally a lot. And so, 15-hour travel days, 3-hour travel days, things like that. And so your body gets beat up, and working out just makes everything feel a little bit better. Loosen up, like get the blood flowing, and just keeps you healthier, sharper mentally and everything.
What's on your workout playlist? Your workout playlist, what's on it?
I usually take a break from music when I work out because I'm around it so much. Wow. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's my workout time. A lot of time turns into like my ministering to myself by like listening to podcasts and sermons, things like that, because I'm doing music the whole other part of the day that I'm like, I need a break. This is my time with Jesus.
Might I suggest the Young Prophets podcast the next time you're working out?
I'm going to have to add that to the list.
Right here. This is us, yeah.
But it's just, little things like that. But I think one of the things that I'm learning and it's most difficult for me to wrestle with right now is, this is the most international travel I've been doing, as far as over oceans and continents and things, while being married. And so being gone 2-3 weeks a month, and then being on if I'm in LA, it's a 9-hour time difference to my wife. And then when I land back, I'm on a 9-hour time difference schedule. So it's dealing with jet lag, being a loving husband.
Yes.
While, I don't know, just trying how to deal with that, and it's difficult. I think that's the thing I'm learning about how to, I don't know, what's true is like how to be a loving and be present.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge.
Schedule is not the same as my wife.
Yeah. it's a challenge for me. I want to jump in there because I think this is important too. Yeah, travel is like really glorified in kind of culture now. So especially with Instagram and Facebook and all this stuff, people are like, oh, I'm going here, I'm going there. Yeah, but I have 3 kids and I have a wife and you've got a wife. Like, there are some challenges that come with it, and it's not all fun and games. And 2, like with the long flights, that's part of it and it's taxing on your body. But the nature of what I do is I'm in rooms where it's like people are very interested in what's going on. They want to know you. They want to talk to you. And probably the same with you. You're ministering in a different capacity, but you're ministering people, and there's this element of people want to be your friend. But then like it goes from extreme pull on you emotionally and relationally to a lot of solitude. Like I spend a lot of time alone from planes to hotels, and mentally it's challenging. And then like with the dynamic of trying to stay a part of my, FaceTime makes it easier, Skype makes it easier, all these things, they help, but it still doesn't, it's not the same as being present. And trying to navigate that is something you can do, and there's a grace for it. But I encourage people to have close friends. Like I have, friends that do what I do, and like we all have the same core values spiritually, and we love Jesus and we're going after him, but there are real struggles even in ministers, like we're like, what do we, how do we navigate this? Because it's, laying down, sometimes it's just, I get lonely, man, and that's not like poor pitiful me, but it's not always cool. It's like everybody, people may know your name, people may really love and celebrate what you're doing, but when it comes to real relationship and friendships, you keep those things close to the heart. There's got to be a healthy balance there. But no, that's good. It's been a challenge for me because I've only been doing this for probably a year and a half at this level. But that's a heavy amount of travel, and there's a grace to do it. But you gotta set some things aside. And particularly that working out stuff, man. Yeah, you want to see your body do some weird things. Start eating on the road. I like
to eat airplane food all the time.
Oh, and just Lord help us. I feel like every time I get stuck in Chicago airport, I have a layover long enough to hit that McDonald's, and I hate it. It's like the only option. It's like, if you want to eat in the next 8 hours, it's that McDonald's.
I love that airport.
Oh, really?
I'm so close to that airport because, I lived in Chicago for 7 years, and so when I was touring all around North America a ton, I had great status with United and TSA pre-check. So I was able to plan it so that I could show up at the airport 40 minutes before my takeoff time. And I'd be at my gate, and like everything would be perfect. So like, I don't know, I just have a huge love for that. Like, there's some good food places. There's a place in. Are you ever in Terminal 1? Would you sit or do you fly?
Rarely. I fly United, so I end up in the like oddball.
There's a place that does like salads and wraps that I go to every single time when I'm there. So I was going to recommend that, but if you're not in that terminal, then...
Normally I always get delayed in Chicago, and I'm there just enough to run from one place to the other, and I'm like, if I don't eat now, it's going to be 6 hours, and I always make a poor decision. I always listen to the devil in those moments and get a double quarter pounder with cheese, a large fry, and a Coke, and then I repent on the plane next to the person who's also unhappy that I did that. But anyways, I do love Newark. Newark's got a sweet like ramen place. But anyways, I could talk about food for too long. So if you're ever in the Newark, Liberty, go to the place where the ramen place is. It's fantastic.
Just there on Friday.
Oh man, yeah, it's a great airport. I've only been there a few times, but anyways, so I talked about the travel and balancing that. How do you? So you say when you work out is generally like your time with the Lord. People always ask me like, what does your prayer time look like? What does your quiet time with the Lord look like? And I tell them I don't really have a quiet time because there's no time in my day that's quiet. When I'm on the road, I'm generally ministering, or I sleep when I can, and then I'll write on planes and I'll process with the Lord. But when I'm home, I've got 3 kids and a wife. I don't feel like it's the right use of my time to hide away and say I'm spending time with God when I'm not stewarding my family. I feel like I owe that to them. So what does that look like for you as far as, stewardship of your time and with the Lord and being intentional about it?
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking a lot about recently, and just it looks really different than it did before, in the sense that I think as this new season has come about, I've really been conscious of, I've gotten a lot of incredible prophetic words from people that are very trustworthy with this stuff, that I'm okay, for this stuff to come about, like I need to make sure I'm as fully prepared and equipped internally as I am externally, because this is going to get real and going to get serious in a great way, that it's like I want to be as prepared character-wise, spiritually, all that stuff for when this comes about. And so I I probably spend 2 days a week where I'm not working on music and I'm just listening to sermons. I'm just talking with God and hanging and just spending time asking questions. Like, I'm a thinker as a philosophy major. I'm a thinker. I think about all sorts of stuff. And so I like to talk to God, all that stuff. And yeah, and so I know, and I listen. I'm so grateful for like Bethel TV and Expression 58 live streaming their stuff and all that stuff. Like, I just listen to this stuff all the time whenever I can. And so, you know, when I come back from these trips, like the first 2 or 3 days, I won't do anything with music. Like listen to sermons and I read a lot of books and just try and fill up because, you know, when I go to LA and I have 10 days of studio time, my days just to get up, work out, go to the studio, and that could be until 10, 11 at night, eat some food, and go back to sleep and do it again. And it's like, I don't have time for quiet time that day. So, I when I'm home and I have the time, I definitely make sure I'm like eating as much of that as I can.
Yeah. No, I mean, it gives new meaning when you have a schedule like that. Because for years you'll pray, Lord, let me do this, let me do this, let me do this. And be careful of those prayers you pray, because one day he'll say, yeah. And then you'll realize, hey, I didn't do anything to prepare myself for this. And so you learn to pray at all times without ceasing. For me personally, praying in tongues all the time. Like I'm doing things, but under my breath, even like you'll probably at some point in this broadcast, you'll catch me just, like Shabbat under my breath. And it's just what I do. It's my constantly there. And it keeps this idea that relationship and intimacy with God, the secret of the secret place is it's not a place. It's inside of you. Like God made his habitation us. So we're in constant communication with him. It's just our ability to acknowledge that, like there's no middle wall of separation. Like the King of Kings has made his house right here. So if I just talk to him, like that's super cool. I had a really great question I was going to ask you, but it totally floated away like a balloon there. One thing we're going to get to in just
what does it have to do with?
I don't even know at this point. We were
probably Jesus.
Jesus. No, I'm not going to try right now because it's gone, baby. It just left. It went somewhere up there in the heavenlies. God will send it back down if he wants it to be there. No, I one of the things I want to ask you is this. We kind of end with this. The idea of this is the young prophets. I want to give people the idea that, hey, maybe prophets in 2018 don't look like they're in a 3-piece suit with a handkerchief in their pocket, standing on a traditional church stage saying, "Thus saith the Lord." Maybe the prophets of this generation are standing behind turntables and actually speaking life over a generation of people who don't know their God. Or maybe they're in the fashion industry in New York City and they're influencing the way we dress, look, and feel. Or maybe they're in government creating legislature that reflects the heart of God. The young prophets, the new prophets of this generation, the core of prophecy is foretelling and forthtelling, right? By way of edification, exhortation, and consolation. So it's got to build you up in the Lord. It's got to call you to action, or it's got to comfort you. So that's the 3 ways that you do it. So foretelling is talking about future events that haven't happened yet. It's talking about what's to come. Forthtelling is being able to partner with those things and speak words, like we're created in the image and likeness of God if you've been redeemed. So your words are powerful and what you speak matters. So when I'm talking to the young prophets, I'm saying, what do you see? What is the Spirit showing you? How are you partnering with what God's telling you about the future, and what is your language shifting? So what do you see right now about the future, and what would you say is ahead? Because our words create worlds that we live in, and that's the idea, the premise of this young prophets thing. So for you, man, I want to know what you think is ahead, not just within your realm of influence, and then outside of that. What do you see God doing in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, first, I'm going to just say this real quick. It's just how important prophecy is, because I think some people are really skeptical or whatever about it. And I just think with what I'm doing and with music and the things that I'm stepping into and all that stuff, like there's a lot of, it's really hard. And people are like, oh, it's so glamorous what you do. I'm like, no. It looks glamorous, but it's super, super hard and super tough. That one of the things I've really been able to rely on is these prophetic words that people have spoken over me and said that, like, I'm like, no, this is the outcome. And it gives you hope for the future to like walk through the process of getting there, because the process sometimes is not very fun and will give you a million reasons to quit. And so I just want to encourage people, like, the prophetic is incredible. And one of the most important things for the next 5 to 10 years for this generation is because it empowers you to step into things that the world is going to say, no, that's not possible. It's not how we do things. You're like, no. Like, I know the outcome. I know how this is going to play out down the road. And it gives you that encouragement, that power to step into and through any obstacles that are there.
Yeah.
And so I think for the next 5 to 10 years, like, it's going to be the most empowered generation that the world has ever seen to this point.
Yeah.
And I say to people all the time that I think the church is about to step into its healthiest identity that's ever had since Jesus walked the earth.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's going to start to take its place where it should be as a leader, as someone who dictates culture in a loving and incredible way, not in a condemning way. But in a, like, the heart of God is going to be thrown into society in a way that, like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to look differently than it's looked before. I think so much is going to come through music and TV and movies and television and media and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And fashion.
Come on.
That if people view that, like, the church is like, oh, people are going to come back to church again. Like, that's not what it's about. Like, I think it's going to be about, like, every sphere of society is going to start to reflect the goodness of God.
Come on, man.
And we're about to step into that, and I'm like, it's going to be the most exciting. I'm so glad that I'm alive for this time in history.
Yes.
I think it's going to be so incredible.
Oh, man.
I get so pumped up thinking about this.
Yeah, I want to run laps around the studio, but I'm restricted by this headphone cord right now. No, like, you're speaking my language. It's like we're not going out in a ball of fire, man. Like, we're coming out with victory, and I think there's just some stuff that's getting established. I love what you said. It's like, not like the goal of everything that we're doing is not to gather people in churches. The goal of everything that we're doing is to produce a scenario where they can encounter God, where they can get marked, and then they can go and reproduce everything that they've seen and make disciples and all that stuff, man. That's beyond exciting. I'm super stoked about what's happening in your life, man. I'm honored that you came on the broadcast. I'm so grateful for the ministry that you have. So grateful for our friendship and even our connection that we had. I always, me and him go back and forth. Like, I'm a nut with Instagram, and, like, I probably direct message you back and forth like a text conversation more than anybody in history.
Great. I love that.
That's the way that I do. Like, my love language is memes. So if I send you memes, it means that we're close. So so if you start getting those, you're like, okay, this guy likes you. But man, I'm super encouraged by what you're doing. I love how your raw, authentic, like, approach on things. I love that there's no pretense. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. I've had good. This has been awesome. I love this. I think people are going to be impacted by it. In the bio, we'll have information on how you can hook up with him and follow him on Instagram, Facebook, et cetera, and also find his music. You need to check out Places, which has just been released. Where can they find that at, really quickly? Places and all the new stuff that's coming out.
It's everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube.
Fantastic.
Any possible place where music is, you can find a record.
Awesome.
Hey, yes. So yesterday, I want to, like, jump in. We were looking on YouTube yesterday, and we're looking for some of your music, and ran across another King Arthur that was his username was DVJ King Arthur, and it's like this dude in a Power Ranger suit, like stormtrooper looking thing, like dancing and DJing. Do you have any affiliation to that?
Times.
No affiliation.
No. Okay, so that's not you.
So this is the real King Arthur.
I was halfway hoping you'd show up on the show today in a Power Ranger suit.
No, I mean, I have a crown.
Get your crown. Get your crown real quick. We have to see the crown. This is great, guys.
So, like,
this, I want one of these things. There's probably only one of these.
But no, that guy's Puerto Rico.
Okay.
He does not like me very much at all, and has tried to sue me many times and tried to shut my career down.
So we'll cut that out of the broadcast. No.
So I on a real level, though, I honestly believe he doesn't have grounds for anything. But I definitely think, like, he started coming after me at a time when it was like, okay, this might happen, this might not happen.
Yeah.
And I really believe, like, it was the enemy trying to, like, just cut this down. He knew what He knows what's about to happen.
No, you got this thing unlocked, bro. Like, I don't think you're in danger of being taken out of this place at any point. The beauty of God placing you somewhere is that you don't have to fight for it or defend it. Just let God arise and your enemies be scattered, man. I am stoked. This has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. It's been an honor to host you, man. That's our show for today. If you enjoyed this, just pay attention for more content in the future. Keep your eyes open, but that's our show for today, so we'll see you next time. We're out.